everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode of A Bite of Wellness. I'm your host, Chef Ricardo from Wellness in the Schools, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite vegetables, carrots. They're the star for our show, and these guys are really a nutrition superstar. So let me get into it. This is a root vegetable. You might have had other root vegetables, say potatoes or beets, or maybe even a celery root. These guys, though, these are meant to be picked and stored to be eaten all winter long. They have a long growing season up here in the Northeast United States, so generally these will be planted in March, harvested around the fall, and they can hang around for a very long time. What I really like about these vegetables is that they don't have fat at all. They are a fiber superstar, and we know that that's really going to be good for our guts. And they're a rich source of vitamin A, really good for our eyes, our skin, and our teeth as well. And so, I've got to also say that when we do cook these with a little bit of fat, we're actually going to increase the amount of vitamin A we're getting out of them. It'll also make it a little more delicious too. Some of you might not have ever seen carrots with the greens on top. We call these the fronds, and they're not always on carrots when you find them in the store. But if you see them, they're a sign that you've got a really fresh carrot. What we can do with these, and I'll show you how to cook them a little later, is we can cut them off, we can add them into a salad, or do a quick saute or a roast, and I'll demonstrate that a little later on. For our carrots today, we're going to peel these down. The peel has extra fiber, but we're going to remove it for our purposes. Maybe you might see some baby carrots in the store. If you see those in the store, do you think that those come from a baby carrot plant? I don't think so. Normally carrots don't all come in the same sizes and shape. Some of them are actually really big, and those are the ones that food manufacturers will take and break down to make them into baby carrot sizes.
Did you know that carrots come in more than just one color? As you can see on this carrot wheel, there are a wide variety of carrot colors. Orange carrots are the most popular variety of carrot, however they come in red, white, yellow, and even purple colors. Wild carrots started off as either white or pale yellow, but scientists have found that the first domesticated carrots were grown almost 5,000 years ago in modern-day Iraq and Iran, and those came in purple and yellow colors. Domestication happens when humans tame wild plants or animals over many generations. In this case, the farmers selectively chose carrots with sweet taste and attractive colors. The orange variety of carrots were reported to have been cultivated or selectively planted and grown by farmers in Spain as early as the 14th century. Flash forward a few centuries later, and you would find that carrots were primarily grown by the Dutch, one of the main agricultural powers in Europe. Carrots were so common that to this day, you can see carrots featured in some paintings from the Golden Age that focused on featuring everyday life in the Netherlands. The orange variety seems to have thrived better in the Netherlands' mild and wet winter, yielding more uniform and a higher quality than their multicolored siblings. As a result, merchants went on to spread the orange carrots across Europe, where they became the carrot of choice in countries like England, France, and Germany. From England, the Pilgrims brought the carrot overseas to the New World, where the carrots were quickly adopted by Native American farmers. Any color of carrot is a great choice, but the nutrient composition will differ ever so slightly between colors. Orange carrots are packed with chemicals called carotenoids, specifically beta-carotene. Your body turns beta-carotene into vitamin A, which helps you grow and protects you from getting sick. Beta-carotene isn't just nutritious though, it's loaded with orange pigment. That's why vegetables with lots of beta-carotene share the same color, such as sweet potatoes, squash, and pumpkins. As for the other colors of carrots, recent studies suggest that the antioxidants in black or purple carrots have anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. Interestingly, some types of red carrots may provide more beta-carotene than orange carrots, and large amounts of lycopene, both nutrients linked with a reduced risk of heart disease and some cancers. Additionally, other types of antioxidants like polyphenols, flavonoids, and carotenoids in black carrots may substantially defend our bodies against chronic disease. Carrot breeders have even created carrots with multiple colors. You could get the best of both worlds, a carrot that's orange on the inside and purple on the outside. No matter the color, carrots are a great way of working in a rainbow of veggies into your diet.
What I like about carrots more than any other vegetable is that they're very, very versatile. You could use them in a savory application, say as a side dish with your main meal, but they've also got a lot of sugar in them. Remember, carrots as a root vegetable help to suck up all the nutrients from the ground. And so they're going to pick up a lot of sugar that's actually going to be stored. And honestly, when we cook them, they're going to become a lot sweeter. So we could use them in a savory way, but we can also use them in a sweet application as well. They are my secret ingredient for certain desserts. But you might see carrots being used in other ways as well too. Actually, vegetables in general are being repurposed and reformed into different ways of eating them. Sometimes you might see vegetables being turned into pasta with the spiralizer. Sometimes you might see vegetables like, say, a potato or even a carrot cut up to make chips. In our case for today, I'm going to show you how to turn these carrots into French fries. Here on the wall, you'll see our Parmesan Carrot Fry recipe. And if you look at the yield, our recipe serves 30 tasting portions. This is actually a recipe that we use in schools when we're cooking with students in the classroom. If you stick around till the end of our show, we'll put up a copy of the family size recipe for you to take a screenshot and use with your loved ones. Everything else should be just about the same except for the quantities. Here's what's in our recipe. We're going to be using 30 carrots peeled. We want to peel our carrots in order to get a crispy texture on them. With the peel, it's a little bit harder to get a nice crunchy texture there. We're going to be using 1.5 cups of Parmesan cheese, grated, 10 cloves of garlic, minced, 3 tablespoons of honey, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and salt and pepper to taste. To start our recipe, we're going to start with the most important step that you can always do when you're using an oven to bake. We're going to preheat our oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. I've already done that, and it'll just heat up while I get the rest of our mise en place together. The next thing that I'm going to do is work with my garlic. If you've seen any of my other episodes with recipes included, you'll know that we want to cut up our garlic and let it rest for about 10 minutes or so. That way we can get the most health benefits out of it as we can. We want to cut up our garlic to a mince, and you could do that with a knife, but I'll show you a quick and easy way of doing that too, if you are running short on time. I always like to cut off the stem part, take my knife, press down on the garlic just a little bit to just easily remove that skin. And rather than go ahead and cut it, to get it to about the same size, I'm going to use a microplane grater, and I'm just going to grate my garlic. Whether you're grating or cutting, if you let it rest for at least 10 minutes, you'll get the most nutrition benefits out of it. And I'll just peel a little more, and we should be good. We'll keep that on the side for later. Next thing that we're going to do is cut our carrots down to size. So we're going to cut them to be about even sizes. I've got some pieces of carrot on my cutting board here, and that's going to be my guide. I'll use this to determine what size carrot I'm going to cut. So first things first, you don't want to cut off both the tops and the bottoms at the same time. We're going to cut off about 1/2 inch from the top on both carrots, and then we'll cut them down to size. We got to peel them first, but let's take our fronds and we'll put them on the side for right now so we can work with them a little bit later. When you're peeling carrots or any other vegetable really, you always want to peel away from yourself. Rather than coming in like this, you want to push away. That's the safest way of peeling your carrots, your potatoes, or any other vegetable with a skin. And we'll rotate the carrot around. Once you get one side peeled, just turn your carrot around and keep on going. Remember, we're just peeling the carrot to be able to get a crispier texture when we put it into the oven. So don't feel as if you need to peel so much off of the carrot. You just want to get the topmost layer of skin off. All right. Now let me just get that one last side, and we can go ahead and put our peels into the compost bin. The next thing that I'm going to do is use my carrot as a guide, my pre-cut carrot, to determine how big I have to cut the rest of my pieces. So looking at this guy's about 1.5 to 2 inches long. We're going to just cut one piece right here. Now I'll just size it up with the rest of them, and I know that I'm going to lose a little bit of the top or the bottom right over here. We're going to keep that on the side because even though we're not using it in this recipe, we might be able to use it in another recipe, and I'll show you how when we get there. Last but not least, I'm going to take my carrots and cut them into quarters. To cut them into quarters, I'm going to keep my carrot on my cutting board. You want to be able to get a nice good grip with your bear claw in order to cut it in half. So I'll come in with my knife, cut my flat surface there. This will make it a little bit easier to cut them down to size. Take my halves and I'll cut them once again in half to make a quarter. And that is our carrot fry shape right there. We're making nice little batons. They're about 2 inches long and a little bit on the thicker side. When we cook them down, they're going to shrink though, and I will show you what we're going to do with our next step. So I've gone on ahead and I've lined up my carrot batons on our sheet pan here. But I wanted to show you a different way of cutting these. If you feel a little uncertain about holding onto the carrot with your bear claw because it's round and tends to rock around, what I like to do is pick fatter carrots. A thicker carrot will allow you to just stand it up easily, like so, and we can go ahead and make our cut there. It's a little more secure because you've got that flat end. You just want to make sure that you're cutting nice and evenly through the carrot to get your carrot halves. And it's a lot easier to cut once you get that nice flat surface that you can put down on your cutting board. That'll be the safest way to just manipulate the carrot as you cut it. And I'll do that with our other piece over here as well. And it's always easier if you work with the tip of the knife. It'll give you more precision, more control over which direction your blade is going. And those are the last of my carrot batons. And I'll just pop those right on the sheet pan. And when I look at the waste from my carrot, I've got my carrot ends right over here. I've got the fronds. Really? Looking at this, even though we were efficient with cutting out carrots, I think it can make another recipe from this. But we'll hold on to that for the next step. Now that we've got all of our carrots cut into baton shapes and our oven is almost finished warming up, let's move on and talk about the dressing for our carrots. I'll just keep my knife out of the way right here. We're going to use a simple dressing with just a few ingredients. Let me talk about the star of our show, our Parmesan cheese. I really like Parmesan cheese because that's going to add a great flavor to our carrots. They go along really well together. The Parmesan cheese is actually going to add an umami flavor, a savory flavor. And that's also going to add a little bit of salt into our carrots as well. So I'll just pour out my Parmesan cheese here. When you're at the store and you're looking for Parmesan cheese, you can generally find it in two forms, in a whole block form or in a pre-grated form. If you're buying it pre-grated, that's good for convenience. Just be mindful of the ingredients list. Some commercially produced pre-grated cheese tends to have cellulose added as a filler. Cellulose is really just wood pulp. It's not the worst thing for you to eat, but we also don't really need it. So here's our Parmesan cheese. It's a nice texture. This one is pre-grated, and like all cheeses, this is a nice source of protein that's going to be very helpful for your hair, your muscles, your skin, your bones as well too. So that definitely has some nutritional benefits too. Now that we've talked about our cheese, let's talk about everything else in the dressing. The next ingredient that I'm going to add on is going to be our olive oil. And the olive oil we're using specifically for its flavor. In general though, olive oil is a healthy fat. It's going to be good for our hair and for our skin, so we'll just drizzle that right on in. The next ingredient that I'm going to add in is going to be honey. Honey is a natural sweetener. It's not as processed as, say, your white sugar. It's going to add a touch of sweetness, but what I'm really looking for out of my honey here is to get a nice sticky coating so that when this mixes up with the Parmesan cheese and with our garlic as well too, it'll adhere, it'll stick to our carrots really, really well. Last but not least, I'll just add in my grated garlic. And we'll use all of that. And we'll mix up our dressing together. And I will coat my my carrots with the Parmesan dressing. And we'll just rub that in. I might have to get a little hands-on with this. You can also go ahead and toss these into a bowl as well too, before you put them on the sheet pan. And I wish you were here to smell this, but that Parmesan cheese is making me a little hungry. Give it one more toss. Make sure that there's an even coating on these carrots. Make sure they get a little bit of all the flavor that we just added. And then I'm just going to rearrange them out to be in as single of a layer as possible. When you are roasting carrots, you want to make sure that it is in a single layer. Actually, that goes for all vegetables. That way, you don't have a carrot that's covered and not getting enough heat. Now that my carrots are evenly coated, I'm going to have to wash my hands. And the last thing that we'll have to do before we put this into the oven is just add a little bit of black pepper. I'm not necessarily going to add the salt right now. Remember, our Parmesan cheese is also a source of salt as well. And if we have to add a little more for taste, we can do that when they're finished. For now though, I'll just take a little bit of pepper, freshly grinded over. If you have pre-ground pepper, that works just as well too. And just like the salt, you don't want to add a lot of it at once. If we have to add a little more for flavor, we'll do that afterwards. Let's go ahead and pop these in the oven. And now I'll set a timer for 10 minutes and we'll go ahead and check them to see that they're roasting nicely. Now that we've got our carrot fries in the oven, and they'll be done in just a couple seconds, let me show you how we can go ahead and use the fronds in a meal. First thing that I'm going to do is just take a look through really quickly. If I see some of them that are looking a little bit sad, maybe they're a little bit yellow, starting to turn black, I can go ahead and pick those off. We can throw those into the compost. But once I've done that, and there are not too many that are like the right here, we can go ahead and we could give these a nice little bath. We'll just wash them off in some water. That way, if there's any sand that's stuck between the leaves, we can just go ahead and rinse that out. You can also dip these into water as well, too. And that works just fine, not only for carrot fronds, but for all sorts of leafy green vegetables. I'll let that dry off. Now that we've got that drip dried, I'm going to take a towel to it and I'm just going to press down to get off the remaining water. All right, our carrot fries need a couple more minutes. Let me go back over to our fronds. These guys are nice and dried. The way that we can use these is to chop them up. We'll do a little rough chop. We want to keep a little bit of the stem on. And while we could cook them on their own, they work best when we pair them with a milder green. The carrot fronds are going to have a little bit of a peppery taste. So I'm just going to do a nice little chop here. I had some Swiss chard left over from a previous meal. So what I'll do is that I'll combine both the Swiss chard and my carrot fronds together. And we're gonna go ahead and saute that. And really, this is the answer for trying out a green veggie or most vegetables that you might not be certain about the flavor for. Go ahead, cook them in a little bit of oil, garlic, or your favorite herb, and see if it's your yum. So in order to saute our carrot fronds, I've turned our stove down to medium heat. I'm gonna go in and add in my olive oil, and we'll give it just a second to warm up. And what I'm looking for is to see the surface of my oil shimmering. That'll be a sign that it's hot enough to accept the next ingredient. Give it half a second more, and then what we'll do is work with the leftover garlic I didn't use on the carrot fries. I'd say that's about good. If you start to smell the olive oil's aroma, that's also a surefire sign that it is ready for the next ingredient. So we'll pop in our garlic. I'm just gonna move it around a little bit. Oh, there's a nice little sizzle. We'll give that a moment to cook. Not much longer than that though, because we don't want our garlic to overcook. Come on around with the other vegetables. We're not going to use the stems from our Swiss chard. We can put that on the side. If you get a bit of stem though with the leaf, that's not so bad. Now that I've given this a bit of time to cook, I'll go ahead and combine it with the carrot fronds. We'll take a little bit at a time first. If you've got more stemmy pieces, you can go ahead and sort those out on the side. A little bit of stem is not too bad. And I'll also add in our Swiss chard as well too. And I'll slowly combine everything with my tongs, just to turn it around, make sure that all the flavors are melding together. And at this point, I'll also add a little bit of seasoning. I'll turn down my flame as well too. This is not going to take all that long to cook anyway. Add a little bit of black pepper, and I'll add a pinch of salt. Less is more. We can always add more later to taste. So we're cooking up our fronds and our Swiss chard. This looks like it's just about done. It lost a lot of volume as we cooked it. You don't have to cook it long. You don't have to turn it over too much. Just get one little turn to make sure that all the flavors are melded together. And we can go ahead and take this off the heat in just a moment. I've got a plate right here, and we'll just go ahead and serve it. And if you wanted to add a little bit of a sour note to it, you can go ahead and squeeze a lemon into this. But we'll take our plate. I will go ahead, drop our greens on, and that'll be a nice side dish to accompany any regular main meal. And here's our sautéed greens. If you're trying this at home, make sure to take a little taste before you go ahead and serve them. Make sure that you're yum. Make sure that they don't need a little extra seasoning in the form of salt and pepper. We'll put these on the side for right now. Let's go ahead and check on our Parmesan Carrot Fries. These should be just about finished. They smell finished. And here they are. You could tell they are practically about done. If we're looking at them, I could see that my cheese has browned a bit. That's a surefire sign that they're just about finished. The carrots have gotten a little bit wrinkled. They've shrunk down in size, and they smell absolutely amazing, to say the least. Now I guess we can do the single most important thing that a chef can do to make sure that their food tastes good. Let's go ahead and take a little taste. I'll take a little guy so I don't have to blow him off too much. Hold on to that right there. That's delicious. As the carrot cooked at the high temperature 400 degrees, the sugars inside the carrot started to actually become a little more pronounced, a little sweeter. The honey definitely helped in that regard too, but you've got a balance between the sweetness from the honey and the carrot, the savory taste of the garlic, and that Parmesan cheese. This tastes really good. I'm gonna have to stop myself from eating the rest of these, but this is a perfect accompaniment with that meal that we're making, along with our sautéed greens as well. So I've gone on ahead and I've plated this entire dish together. I've combined the greens from our carrot fronds and our Swiss chard with the Parmesan carrot fries as well too. And I would imagine that any dinner guest would be surprised to know that not only did I have the Parmesan carrot fries, but I also took the tops of the carrots and repurposed them as well too. And it looks really, really visually appealing. One last thing to note in talking about our Parmesan carrot fries is that even though we call them carrot fries, we went ahead and we roasted the carrot. When you roast at a higher temperature, you get a little bit of the texture that you would get from frying, but we're not necessarily dipping these carrots in oil. It's going to be a little more of a health supportive choice. Thanks for tuning in to watch our demonstration of how to make the Parmesan carrot fries, as well as the bonus sautéed greens. I really hope that you'll try this at home. It's really delicious, and you're using the whole plant from root to leaf. Thanks for tuning in.